एक गहरी सांस और एक ललकार खुली हवाओं में कि हाँ, मैं बना हूं उन फिजाओं के लिए, कि हाँ, मैं बना हूं उन ऊंचाइयों के लिए जो ऊंची तो बहुत है पर नामुमकिन भी नहीं, क्योंकि मुमकिन और नामुमकिन में बस इतना सा फर्क है। धूप छांव में फर्क, बस इतना सा। तो बस चलिए फ्रेंचाइज इंडिया के साथ ये फर्क मिटा देते हैं। फ्रेंचाइज इंडिया।
Greetings to all the participants from India and around the world. I am Deepak Yadav, CEO of Franco, the world's largest franchise consulting firm. Our company has helped renowned brands like McDonald's, Hilton Hotel, KFC, Reliance, and lights of them expand globally through franchising. This webinar is tailored for companies that are considering franchising or are already involved in franchising. Our goal is to share the best practices in franchising so we can make this session as productive as possible. To achieve this, we encourage you to ask as many questions as you can to take the advantage of our knowledge, which can be worth million for you as it has been for our existing clients. Let's quickly understand the topic we will cover in this webinar. First, we will explore when it is the right time to enter the franchising stage. Is franchising the ideal strategy for your brand? What it means to be franchise ready, failures in franchising, and pillars of franchising. Remember, franchising is all about creating a system that enables others to earn profit. Without further delay, let me introduce our panel for today. It is my pleasure to introduce our speaker for today, starting with Mr. Gaurav Maria, the man who needs no introduction, the force behind creating disruptive franchise strategy for thousands of brands. Entrepreneur, author, advisor, innovator, and franchising guru. I have known Gaurav sir for almost a decade now and have had the fortune of witnessing him help multiple brands from various industries achieve multifold growth. Mr. Maria is often addressed as father of franchising and is credited with growing and nurturing the franchise industry from when it was a concept known to few to now when every small and big business is looking to utilize this to grow their footprints. We also have the fortune of having Ms. Sonia Chaudhary with us today. Ms. Chaudhary is the Managing Director for Franchise India Brands Limited and has been in the franchise business for over 2 decades. She has been instrumental in creating franchise network for countless brands and is well regarded as one of the greatest franchise experts in the country. We also have Mr. Ashok Kumar with us. Mr. Kumar is the Group Strategy Consultant for Franco, where he oversees the franchise development program and consulting services. With over 16 years of experience, he has a deep understanding of corporate strategy, business planning, financial modeling, franchise consulting. Mr. Kumar has also worked with international organizations and India entry franchise strategy and has conducted multi-sector global market studies across 198 countries and 70 territories. Additionally, he has worked on feasibility, financial modeling, commercial due diligence, asset valuation, market stimulation, forecast models, big data analysis, and regulatory benchmarks. Without further delay, I would request Gaurav sir and Sonia ma'am to take this forward.
Thank you, Deepak, and welcome, friends, and welcome to this very special Wednesday evening webinar, which we call the Scale Up. And the Scale Up is actually started as a physical webinar. We now brought in a digital version, much shorter, where we really talk about franchising, the best practices of franchising, how franchising can help you scale your business, some of the examples of companies who have successfully done that, and equally some examples of companies which were not able to do it or they were failures in franchising. So friends, I'll give you a little flow, but before I go on the flow of the webinar, I'll also introduce two other colleagues of ours, Ram and Isha. They're the ones who normally would talk to you. They're part of Deepak's team, and they worked on prospecting people who are looking to get into franchise or companies which are now looking to get into franchise. And also, I'll request if you want to use the Q&A box, there is a Q&A box down there. Just click that to ask any questions. More questions you ask would not only help you, but also help other people who've joined in, because this would give us much more collective learning from this whole structure. So what is the flow? I will give you first the perspective of franchising, how franchising works, a little bit on Indian story about franchising and how has over the 27 years of our journey. My journey is 27 years in franchising. I was the first one to really talk about franchising in the country. And since then, we have come a long, long way. It's become the second largest market for franchising. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about a little bit of best practices of franchising, and then I'll pass it on to Sonia. She, as Deepak said, comes with a phenomenal experience on running large franchise development network. So she has been 20 years leading a team which has sold more franchisees than anybody else. So she comes with a lot of experience in terms of why people invest. When you are going in the market and trying to get franchisees, similarly, there are other 15,000 brands which are offering their opportunity in the market. Why people would invest with you versus those 15,000 opportunities? And that also not just one comparison. If people want to invest, they have choices of investing into active businesses, which means that they can buy a franchise or they can start their own business. Then they have also choices of passive investments, which means they want to invest in property, stock market, gold, other asset classes, and so on and so forth. So out of so many different opportunities of investment available, why would somebody invest with you? This is a very critical question, and she has a large team which does day and day night that. We have sold more business than anybody else in the world. So there is a lot of experience she can talk about. Then Ashok would come in, and then Ashok would take a presentation. The presentation is going to be maybe a 25, 30-minute presentation, 3 critical slides where we'll talk about 3 things. One, is this the right time for you to get into franchise? That's very important because like I had a call with a successful digital-only fashion brand today. And the first thing the founder asked me, he says, should I get into franchise now or should I wait for another 2 years? Because I'm established but not established, right? So you're in the piece of the journey, right? At what stage you decide that you want to be part of scaling your business through franchise? That's very, very critical to define. The second thing which we'll talk about is how do you make yourself franchise ready? This is very important. And what it takes to become franchise ready. There are a lot of these small dots which you need to connect and make it ready so that you are able to present as a great asset class where people love to invest with you and they have aspiration of to joining your brand. So that second point we'll cover. And the third point we'll cover is what is the structure you need to create to be a successful franchise business. Structure would mean that we call the 4 pillars, and we'll talk about as we present the presentation, how these structures would help you, build a robust franchise business model, which can last and sustain the brand and also sustain your franchisees. So friends, let's get started. We already have a lot of people joined in. So if you can all also introduce yourself, because if we know which industry you're coming from, which city you're coming from, what business you run, it'll be much easier for us to give you examples. And you have to appreciate that between FranCorp and Franchise India and Fran Global, we have done over maybe 20,000 brands at different stages, different countries. So we have a lot of real-time experiences. And I can give you a lot of experiences because I've been front-ending consulting and especially meeting clients. I call discovery days. I do these 30-minute discovery days with companies which are no obligation to really understand what business they have and how they can grow. And that excites me still now. I mean, I just returned from UK. I was doing the same thing in UK yesterday. It still excites me because I meet entrepreneurs and see their vision, their journey of growth. And sometimes they are able to see far and sometimes they're not able to see, right? Sometimes they're not able to see that far. So it's our responsibility to show them the whole cycle of that growth sector. So, but let's get started. So use your Q&A box to introduce yourself. Give us why you're here, what kind of industry you run, any other question you have, you can also ask. So let's get started. Let's get into fundamentals first. What is franchising, right? So franchising is the greatest marketing idea ever born, right? People think it's just a distribution idea, but I think this is the biggest marketing idea ever born. I can give you some examples which you get shocked that these companies became such large and such great organizations. Like take example of Coca-Cola. Now, Coca-Cola is completely a franchise company. They give their franchise to somebody who would, manufacture, bottle, and distribute. And they just work on passing that the model and the whole know-how of the business, and obviously work on the brand. So it's a great marketing idea. It's the most powerful brand born in the world, and it actually came from a franchise idea. And now a lot of examples I can give you of great companies, even in India. You see Mother Dairy, Amul, even Geo, as we see, is become a big success story. And so many other businesses which are daily touching you are actually franchise businesses. You might see a DTDC as a courier company, but I see as a franchise company. You see NIIT as a IT education company, I see as a franchise company, right? So if you really see around you, whatever you're consuming, like you see a Dr. Lal Path Lab as a diagnostic company, but we see as a franchise company. You see Apollo Clinics as a clinical or polyclinic business, but we see as a franchise business, because these are businesses which are led by independent entrepreneurs who run and operate that brand in that geographical location. So the literal meaning of franchising means rights of privilege granted. When you give the rights of your brand, their know-how, your capabilities, your operational capabilities, your training to somebody else to run and operate that business in another geographical location, it becomes franchise. Against that, either you charge a royalty or you make margin on the supply chain, which means that if I was a Nike, I give you a franchise of a Nike, I make money on supplying shoes to you. But if I was a salon company called Lakme, which actually, by the way, the first brand Frank Cop did when it entered India was Lakme. It was a cosmetic company, made it a salon brand. But when you do a franchise for Lakme, because services are done locally, you don't really supply anything apart from a little bit of salon supplies. So you make royalties on that. So there are two types of businesses. One is a product based, where you make margin on the supply chain. And second is service based, where you make royalties on that. But this idea has become such large, it's now $4.7 trillion industry globally. So friends, if you don't calculate that by the mathematics, it's much larger than even Indian economy. Indian economy is trying to be a 5 trillion economy by 2028. We are 3.7. I think we'll achieve much better, much earlier. But franchising is much bigger than Indian economy. It's such a large industry, and it impacts everyone. It impacts small time micro entrepreneurs. It can be, say, for example, a driver of a Uber. When you sit in the car, you think it is Uber. For me, it's micro franchise. That guy is a micro franchise for Uber, right? So from a starting point, like this driver who puts you off from a Uber or a Ola to a Marriott hotel. Like today, I saw somebody in, and I know this family very well, in Sindhi family in Jaipur. They just signed Ritz-Carlton in Jaipur. It would be a 600, 700 crore property. So from a micro entrepreneur who's more operator in a business, from that to somebody is investing in Ritz-Carlton, the entire journey is franchising. So franchising is a great combination of two things. One, the brand, and local entrepreneurship. It becomes together, it becomes very, very powerful idea. How can we bring these two things together? And this is how businesses grow, right? At a micro level or a community level, how businesses would grow. The businesses needs to have credibility through their brand, their know-how, and so on and so forth. And it has to have a local entrepreneur who understands his community or neighborhood. And this local intelligence can become as micro as a taluka or maybe a zonal headquarters or even a small city. And it can become a state, it can become a region, it can become a country. So I can become a country master franchise because I know knowledge about India. And some global company can give me. So this is a spectrum of franchising in the whole space. We have spent a lot of time at two fronts. One, to work with companies to become franchise ready. So this is one area which historically we started, because when I started the business in franchising in India, there were only handpicked of companies which were knowing franchising. Most of them, they were not even calling franchise, they were calling dealers, distributors, and this is the way most of product companies used to do. And I saw that there is a huge opportunity, and franchising is directly proportionate to consumption, which means that India has population, people consume everything here. But why we have less franchise? Because brand awareness was not there. People were not asking for a quality, right? Like for example, when I used to come to Delhi in late 90s, in 95, 96, I used to come quite a bit to Delhi. And those time my affordability was not big hotels, but there were no big hotels, right? There were small hotels, regional hotels. The best hotel one can go was a JP International, which was a local brand. I mean, imagine if somebody coming from US is been told that you're staying in a JP International, while it is a great hotel, but you are not so comfortable because you don't know the hotel, right? But if you're coming to a Marriott or a Holiday Inn or a Hilton or any other Sheraton, you're much more aware about the whole opportunity. So the whole transformation actually started in late 90s, where people started becoming more and more brand conscious. Hence, proportionately, franchising grew in the market. So we have, from the day one, started going to a lot of companies which had a successful business model, a very aggressive entrepreneur who wanted to grow, and we love those businesses. And we still, I get the biggest, I would call the biggest success of franchising, Frank Corp, Frank Global, is actually taking those companies. While we all talk about, like Deepak was saying, the Hilton Hotel, the Shell, the Chevrons, and the 3Ms, and the, Pidilites, or, Unilevers, or Procter & Gamble's, the all good companies. But I'm more excited about opportunities which are run by these hungry entrepreneurs who want to really grow. And that's where really we want to participate. So we work with them to make them franchise ready. And then the second part, which is equally important or more important, is to acquire right franchisees for them. Before I pass it on to Sonia, just you estimate we sell about 8 to 10,000 franchise every single year. Now, when I tell my friends in Paris or London and places like them, it blow them up, right? Because they cannot even imagine. The topmost consultant in those markets would have sold 5 franchises in a year. And we sell that same count 10 times every single day at different levels and different structures. So that's how the power of franchising and an opportunity of entrepreneurship is there. So I congratulate to all of you that you have taken time out to come and join this webinar. That means that you're all looking for growth, which is the starting point. Because if you're looking for growing your business, that's the main starting point. Rest everything is the process. How you follow the process to make yourself franchise ready and then find franchisees for you. So friends, I'll now pass it on to Sonia, and she will give her brief and a little bit understanding why people invest in franchise, what are they looking at to invest in franchise, and then we'll bring it to Ashok. I still would request you, if you use the Q&A box, to introduce yourself. If you are already franchising, just carefully understand. If you're already franchising, write AF. So we know that you're franchising, and talk about your industry. And if you are new to franchising, which means that you want to get into franchise, write NF, and also write your industry, so we know where you're coming from. And also, if you can share your city, it will be good. And over to you, Sonia.
Thank you, friends. A very good evening to all of you. I think you all have been hearing what we had to say, but would be happy to even hear from all of you. And subsequently, post the webinar, we can also get in touch to discuss the business models in details. But any brief introduction that you want to share about your business, the city that you come from, and whether you are already in the business of franchising or exploring, or whatever you've done, would be helpful for us to take this conversation further. And just to add on, I'll touch a little bit on franchising, and lastly on what our capabilities at the group level are. Anywhere you want to ask any questions, please feel free to do that. So over these years, I would say, this is an important responsibility that we have felt over the years, where we want to pass our learning, which in fact de-risks the business owners, franchisors, and creates a great value proposition for all the stakeholders who together come into a business. When I say stakeholders, the business models which are created over a period of time, they take into consideration the customer, it takes into consideration the brand owner, the franchisor, and also the franchisee. It's a very holistic structure that we follow. And this comes with over 2.5 decades of our own validated learning in working with companies, our experience of seeing businesses become successful, and also reasons of their failure. So franchising, while it creates a lot of intelligence synergies, because it brings in the combined strength of the company, the brand, which is you, and the partner, who's a local partner, who runs and operates the business. But it requires collaboration, and equally it is important that before we even step out to bring partners on board, we must understand what it takes to create a sustainable business model. Today, all the companies that you would see around, and if you are looking to franchise, I'm sure you must be seeing companies who are expanding today. And a lot of startups in the country, rather 25% of startups in the country, they use franchising to scale right? So whether that's a service business or a distribution of their product, largely you will find these companies eventually, after a certain stage or a period of time, they would eventually start franchising. And especially companies getting into franchising, which are younger companies, they're more focused because there's a bigger market these companies have to create. So franchising is a great way to scale up a business because it allows a company to expand the business without having to directly fund their own expansion. And at the same time, the companies, the franchisor, I would say, they're also able to minimize their risk and eliminate the need to raise excessive capital, which is one big reason a lot of companies fail, right? So when you say, or when you raise money through franchising, it is a capital which is raised, which does not call for any kind of equity dilution, neither there is any debt that you take as a brand. So this is debt-free, equity-free capital. But at the same time, it's an extremely responsible way of how the capital is raised. The cost of capital in India is very, very high. I'm sure as business owners, entrepreneurs yourself, you know this fact for sure. And so most of the business models today also don't survive because of that cost of capital. So before a company decides to get into franchising, it is crucial to ensure that a well-prepared and a model, and it should have the necessary foundation. And franchising provides a company the opportunity to be local, yet you can be scalable and also consistent when you pass on your SOPs, your learning and training to your partner. So the idea is, how do we create a consistent and a repeatable business model in the overall construct of our business, and which has to be done with the utmost carefulness, and I would say keeping sustainability in mind, because sustainable business models which should also be worked upon from time to time, depending on the stage of the business. If you can write about yourself, maybe we can refer and give some example of businesses that we started or working with them at your stage, right? So it depends at what stage the business is and what markets are we looking to enter, what is the timing of that industry, market, and the business all put together. So there are a lot of assumptions that we take into considerations before this business model is created. And most importantly, depressed microeconomic, when the in creation of business model, if there are depressed microeconomics, sustainability becomes a very big issue, and which also requires understanding on the total capital to be deployed, the functional aspect of the overall business, the efficient sizing of your format, the store or the outlet that you want to do, how your per square feet efficiencies are calculated, what is the ideal product mix that should go in, what are the margin drivers in your product, how your stock rotates, what is rent to revenue ratio. So these are all important dynamics that we all teams at Franchise India and FranCorp, they work together to create that for every company that we work, because the idea is to build up solid unit economics, as only when everybody in the entire value chain wins, only then the business model becomes sustainable. And so giving a backdrop to what I've talked about, if you look at Franchise India, if anybody has been following Franchise India, a company comes with 27 years of experience. But over these 27 years of our being in the industry, we have also carefully structured all our group companies so that the offering or the value proposition that we can offer to the market, to our clients, be it the community of investors who reach out to us to buy businesses or even companies at different stages, from a startup stage to a growth stage to a scale-up stage, all these companies find solutions through us. So starting with FranCorp, and Deepak did talk about it. So FranCorp is the consulting arm of the Franchise India Group, and much older than Franchise India. Franchise India is 27-year-old enterprise, while FranCorp is a global company which comes with 47 years of experience of working with some of the who's who in franchising globally. And 18 years back, you acquired the company. And over the last 18 years, FranCorp credits itself working with some of the blue chip companies, some of the unicorns, a lot of startups today, which have become big and are all unicorns or listed companies. FranCorp, in fact, started working with them where they were not as big as the names as they appear today. Brands like even Ferns and Petals, which has become synonymous with flowers today is a big case study with Harvard, was a brand that was done by FranCop and Franchise India. And we feel proud to be part of their success journeys. So over the last 27 years and largely 18 years of FranCop, nearly 20,000 companies have been consulted across all spectrums of industries, from food to healthcare, retail businesses, fashion, wellness, and even a sensitive industry as healthcare, which includes clinics, hospitals, is something that our team at FranCop has created their SOPs, which could easily be transferred and be franchised. And the second part of our business, and I would say more from Franchise India, the parent company's perspective, FranCop being a consulting arm. So Franchise India is the largest franchise development and distribution company, which has a presence in about 97 cities in India. And I'm also very happy to tell all of you, I don't know which all countries, because we have a presence in 10 international markets outside India, where we work with companies to not only bring them to the Indian market, but we also work with companies to take a lot of Indian brands and export these brands to international markets. And also a lot of cross-border business that we do, where these companies would take our services to enter different markets across the globe. And so we have actually worked very hard to focus on our core, which is to build entrepreneurship, which has been the core driver of our business. And we always felt if any brand needed the readiness and capabilities to go out and expand itself, first and foremost, they needed a business model to be in place. That's where actually FranCop comes in, which works with companies to make them franchise ready. Second is the companies need marketing capability to reach out to potential partners. And that's where a very big ecosystem of media of Franchise India comes into play, where we run the leading exhibition, about 120 exhibitions that we do pan-India, now of which there's one flagship event that we do every year in New Delhi, which brings in about 45,000 people, not only from India, but also from almost 8 international markets. And we also have companies who come from international markets to come in to represent themselves and find potential master franchisees in India. So that's a very big platform through which the interaction between the business buyer and the business seller, I would say the franchisor, takes place. And then comes our print, which is we also run 3 leading publications. And one of these publications is a global magazine called Entrepreneur, which is an American magazine, and Franchise India is partnered. In fact, we are joint venture partners for Entrepreneur for entire Asia, not just India. And then we have 2 other publications, which are Franchising World and Retailer. And through all these publications, we have a very big ecosystem of SMEs, entrepreneurs, I would say potential entrepreneurs or even business owners, franchisors, who actually come together and are able to relate to it. And finally, is the investment platform. This platform is largely for business buyers. While we work with companies to make them franchise ready, but equally there's a very strong, I would say very strong thrust on the investment or I would say the investor community. So the investor platform is where Franchise India works with business buyers who in fact reach out through all the platforms of Franchise India, where they look at our services to help them buy a business, which could be a small investment, which can start as small as maybe a 10 lakh or a 15 lakh. It could also be an investment which requires maybe investment of 100 crores upwards. It could be a family office which would use our services to help them acquire a brand or bring maybe some international brands to the market. So a very big spectrum of investors today that we deal with. And finally, we also work with companies to help them exit, where any company who's looking at exiting their business, selling their business, which could be a strategic sale or a financial sale. Our Business X company works with these companies to evaluate their business and find a strategic or a financial investor for them. Now, both our companies, Franchise India and FranCop, we play a very crucial role being a catalyst in the entire ecosystem of franchising. So we have always felt our responsibility to educate companies on growth, responsible franchising, which can help us go a long way in creating a very strong and a responsible community of franchise owners. And this is a bit, or I would say, our bit of giving back to the community. So I'll let Gaurav maybe take it forward, but I'll request all of you friends, if you have any questions on the opportunity at large or industry at large, please feel free to write, and we'll be happy to answer them.
Yeah, thank you. And Ashok, we can get started. And friends, whosoever is writing questions, there is somebody who's writing an event in Delhi. It's 18th and 19th of May, which is happening. It's the world's largest franchise event. It's now in 21st year of its edition. And if you want to set up a call with me over next 3 to 4 days, and if you are keen to understand, is your business ready to get into franchise, or even getting into the a stage where you already franchising but not able to sell enough franchise, or you're feeling some challenges, any kind of situation can happen from your starting into a franchise journey to actually helping you to even make it more efficient. So you can set up a call with me. Isha and Ram would reach out to you, set an appointment, then I'm happy to come on a call. I have some slots available on between Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and I'm happy to put up the slots. And if you have, share a little profile of yours, because if I understand your profile, it'll be much meaningful to have a constructive discussion. So Ashok would now take you through a presentation, and I have to jump into another meeting. So I'll be taking an excuse from the webinar, but I'm available for any kind of a joint discussion and structure. And so over to you, Ashok, for taking the discussion forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Gaurav sir, for your valuable inputs and suggestions. And thank you, Sonia ma'am, just briefing us about the services provided by Franchise India and FranCorp. So before starting the presentation, I would like to add some more focus on why somebody should start thinking of franchise and why they should franchise their businesses. So if you look at the total market size of India, India is a like $3.7 trillion economy, and our Prime Minister, Mr. Modi, has set a vision to achieve $10 trillion economy by 2030. Right. So that's is not going to come from government organizations. It's not going to come from PSUs. It has to come from individual contribution. So the entrepreneurs in India basically are going to contribute a major portion to add to this economy. Okay. So if you look at the US market, US economy is around a $25 trillion economy, and there basically the franchise industry in US contribute 10% of their total economies. In India, as of now, we are contributing, like franchise industry is contributing 4% to the GDP, and that we expect has to grow up to the 10% in near future. So if you look at the total market size for franchise industry, to attack that investment is very large. So even if you take 10% of the $10 trillion economy, that means franchise industry has to contribute $1 trillion economy, right? And currently we are only at 4%. So only $400 billion we are contributing. But this is the biggest opportunities for entrepreneurs, businesses, companies to attack that capital. And if you look at the investor mindset, investor who is willing to invest in businesses as compared to the individual startups, if you can consider like startups, failure rate is very, very high. Where franchise, if you consider even beyond 5 years, the 80% of the franchise entrepreneurs, they are continuing their businesses beyond 5 years. So success rate in franchise business is much more effective and lucrative for the entrepreneurs or opportunity seekers. So we will just take you through the presentation. Right. So as FranCorp provide strategy consulting services for franchise industry that includes basically strategy preparation, your financial modeling planning, your legal advisories, your marketing communication strategies, and standardization of your SOPs. So these are the 5 key areas where FranCorp basically leverages its knowledge and capability to create that entire strategy for scale up. Now, so why franchise? Basically, you need to think about these questions. You need to ask yourself that first query: what is the right time to franchise your business? So I would say there is no right time. The day or the time you start is the right time. There is no ideal condition. And if you look at the world evolution, nothing was created or invented in ideal condition. This has always been invented in worst conditions and worst situations. So the contribution, anytime you want to scale up, is the right time. So the few things that you need to ask yourself and you need to evaluate carefully before jump into the franchising. Right. First point is think about the demand. So if your demand for your product or your service is higher and you are not able to service that demand, if you are not able to service that requirement, definitely franchising is a very powerful tool to service that demand. Second thing, so is the competition, right? You have a better product, you have a better service, but competition has taken over and you are lacking capital. So of course, because capital, again, franchise industry is a risk-free capital for brands, but it brings responsibilities because we are offering an opportunity to entrepreneurs to make money on your business. Right? So it's a responsibility as well, right? Now, second thing is operational efficiencies, right? So if you want to optimize operational efficiencies, if you want to manage the resource optimization, definitely operational efficiency franchisee can bring better because you are getting helping hands, an operator who is investing with you and plus operating your businesses. So definitely franchisee brings better operating efficiency in your businesses. And third point is your economy of scale. So if your product or service need like larger distribution or economy of scale, franchising is going to be a very powerful tool to scale up. And scale up, I think in the beginning of the presentation that Mr. Maria said, scale up, you can appoint like national master franchisees, you can recruit regional franchisees, area master franchisees, and unit franchisees. So area and area master franchisee, regional franchisees, and national franchisees, these things larger scale up to your business. Now, so before getting into the franchise, you should be franchise ready. So we have a like 18-point checklist, and this we have segmented into 6 blocks, right? So you need to have these readiness for these 18 parameters. Like first one is your brand preference and engagement. So credibility. To establish the credibility, it requires efforts, resources, energy, and trust that need to build, and that can be achieved through quality of service and customer experience. So credibility, if you have the credibility well established in the market, that means you can encash that credibility by appointing your franchisees, right? Positive PR and social media outreach. So social media marketing and press marketing. Doesn't matter how excellent product or service that you have developed, uh, it has no meaning if you are not able to sell it, right? So effective communication and marketing is very, very important for any business. You should have like a strategy that is sellable and marketable. Awards and recognitions adds a lot of significant value once you scale your business. So of course, any kind of appreciations and awards you received, it adds a lot of credibility to your brand. My next segment or block is basically proven business model, systems, and processes. Proven business means basically you should have your prototype ready. That means you should have the success business model that you can replicate at the multiple locations. And building this prototype, that we need to think about the many parameters that you need to talk about, your investment optimization, operating efficiencies, your microeconomics, your macro level management. So all of these has to be thought out in your prototype planning. SOPs, yes, of course, because you are appointing franchisee, that means you are handing over business to other partners to operate. So your standardization of your day-to-day processes and guidelines has to be uniform. So my end customer experience doesn't dilute. To maintain these high quality standards, you have to have a uniform standards, so that can be replicated at multiple locations. And standardization of your operating systems and procedures are very, very important. And that means basically you are shifting from manpower oriented organizations towards the system driven organization. So the system efficiency can be improved, can be achieved just through the standardization of your operating procedures. A strong vendor relationship, because if you are in a service or in a product supply, definitely the vendor relationship, because you need to maintain the entire supply chain to deliver your products to the franchisee store. Yeah. Financial performance and margins, yes, if you have like enough margin in your business, even it's a service industry or a product industry, so you need to think, because you are appointing a franchisee, that franchisee has maximum operating expenses at his end, because he has to set up your outlet or center, and he has to pay the rental of the location, he has to pay the staff salaries, he has to do the local marketing, and he has to generate the local demand. So he incurs the maximum cost. So as a franchisor, it's your responsibility that you need to evaluate the maximum margin that you can pass it to your franchisee. If you make your first 3 franchise successful, then you don't need any support. You will be self-sufficient to franchise your business at all levels. Affordability for franchisee and margins, again, so as we said, like we need to pass maximum margin to the franchisee to make them profitable. Capitalization, yes, your franchisee brings a capital, that's investment to you. And if you look at the COVID phenomena, look around the world, lot of businesses have been shut down, lot of businesses have been like bankrupt, they went or lost. But if you other side, maximum business which were shut down, these were like company owned, company operated. But at the same time, if you look at the franchisee businesses, they were better to revive, because the risk was shared by individual entrepreneurs. So it doesn't bring more responsibility to the brand. So the risk was shared during that pandemic. Management, leadership, and team. So yes, of course, your founder story, that sells very well, because a founder story, because if you look at this in this business, we are talking about entrepreneur to entrepreneurship or business models. So people invest on people. So founder story or the team management experience and organizational design creates a important impact. Competition and market trend, of course. So you should have a better competition knowledge. You might have a better product, better service in one market, but you shift from one economy to another economy, then you need to understand the dynamics for the other markets and economies, so that you need to also understand your demand and competition in those markets. And second thing is the industry trends. So industry trend, basically there's a one is your incremental demand. Second one is your existing market. So we need to evaluate both what kind of percentage that you can capture from the existing market, and what kind of additional demand that you are going to address. And future demand forecast, so we need to calculate like accurate demand forecast. I can give you an example of a company that like we did like a forecast for Coal India Limited, and after 6 years, our projections were 98% accurate on year data. So we have the cross industry knowledge, we have multiple sector knowledge. So we develop forecast based on our industry knowledge. Plus, to do an accurate forecast for 5 years, basically it's required to study you like 10 years of history. If you know the 10 years history, you can do a very accurate forecast for 5 years. And if you want to do like 10 years projections, basically you need to have 20 years of historical sound knowledge. Now we are coming to our sixth block, that is your product and service. Innovation and R&D is going to be the key that is going to drive the future. So you should be ready with future challenges. So the kind of technology disruptions or industry disruptions or regulatory disruptions, you need to study, evaluate, and you need to keep innovating new things, new products, new launches over time. So you deliver better services, better products as per the industry requirement and customer taste, right? Because everything changes with time. Now, differentiation, of course, you need to create in terms of your offering. So the quality of a product or service that you are offering and the price that you are offering and your end consumer experience has to be very unique. Ultimately, because you need to retain your customer, that is your primary business. And to retain customer, basically your customer experience has to be very high standards. And so change cycle, as we talked about, because everything changes with time. So you should be ready for future changes and changes ready. And how quickly you can adopt these changes and implement across your entire network is the key, right? So along these blocks, Frankop works with you to develop these capabilities and credibilities, so you will be ready to franchise your business. Right. Now, there's a 4 pillars of franchising. That's basically include your innovation and performance. So we have 4 pillars. One is called your past. I think we already talked about some of these points, but we'll discuss further. Past, basically the predictability. So as I said, like financial performance. So if you can measure, if you have like microeconomics measurement in your business, definitely you can franchise your business, right? And micro management in your business is very, very important. If you don't know the basically small dots in your business, it's always like a jigsaw puzzle. So you have an outer framework, but the small pieces you need to piece it together to create the entire jigsaw. So it is, you should have that outer frame as well as the connecting points in your business. Accountability. So accountability again is a very, very important factor for your business. So even all the stakeholder, even is your employee or is your franchisee partner or is your stakeholder or is a equity partner, you should have a clear accountability of your each stakeholder, including the end consumers. Okay. So that brings sets the basically the criteria that if you have that kind of accountability and predictability, definitely you have a higher chances of franchise or business model, and chances of success are very high. Standardization. So we already talked about the standardization. If you need to deliver the uniform experience to the customer, that means your service has to be uniform. Right. And scalability. So yes, scalability, again, you should know your total addressable market and what percentage of that market you want to capture in long term, short term, or medium term. So you should have a clear vision that this is my short term to achieve, then medium term and long term. Now we talk about the CCC. So this is your control, compliance, and consumer connect. So control, once you franchise your business model, then it's very, very important. You should have a complete control on your business. So how you can have a 360-degree control mechanism on your business model. Compliances, once you like from one state to another state or from one country to another country, we have the different regulations, different legalities. So how you can fulfill those legalities? So where you can basically utilize the power of franchising. So your franchisee partners brings those local legal obligations and fulfill those compliances. As far as your customer connect, so yes, a last mile customer experience has to be consistent, because if you look today's time, customer mindset, customer is very demand and service oriented and brand centric. Our next pillar is AIR, so attractiveness, investor readiness, and risk hedging. So attractiveness, again, how brand is preferred on other investment alternatives. As Mr. Gaurav said in the presentation in the beginning, that there are 20,000 brands, 20,000 different brands or opportunities are available for the investors or opportunity seekers. And plus alternate investment options are also available. So how you define yourself that you are unique and you are giving a unique value proposition for the investors. So that's very, very important for you. Investor readiness, yes. So your short-term performance, medium-term performance, or long-term performance defines like how ready you are for investor acquisitions. Your risk hedging, again, because if you look at any business, if you replicate this opportunity at a other location or other markets, so initial ignition is critical. So you need to basically manage and supervise and control maximum risk and damages, because you know your business, you have been doing this business for years, for decades, for generations. So you know in and out where are the loose points, where are the risks. So those risks can be minimized and omitted once you appoint your franchisee partners. And you also need to support your franchisee for these kind of challenges. So that kind of preparation you should consider when you get ready for franchising. My next pillar is ERR. So that's called your encourage, recognize, and reward. So yes, you should promote fair and transparent practices in your business and encourage performances. So like even in our team, Franco follows basically is leadership by performance, not by attitude. So performance, you should encourage the performance, and similarly, you need to recognize your franchisees, your stakeholders, your investors, their achievements, their targets, and reward them. Similarly, you should have the reward for each stakeholder in your business, including your customer. Now we are coming to the services that we provide. So as we have already discussed, towards the consulting, advisory, and franchise services, Franco provides your strategy consulting services for preparing your strategies, financial models, legal advisories, or your SOPs, marketing communication design, and training to the teams, right? At the other side, basically, once you are ready to franchise your business, then you also require investors. So how to reach out to those investors, how you can recruit these quality franchisees, where Franchise India Branch Limited strengths comes in play. So Franchise India Branch Limited, they have a huge registered database of qualified investors plus they have their own website, plus they conduct more than 200 events every year, and to recruit and generate leads and recruit franchisees. So that strength we utilize to generate leads for you and our teams. So Franchise India have teams in 97 cities in India and 10 international markets. So our direct teams, they reach out to these investors, to these leads, and they conduct tri-party calls. They do initial meetings. There are a lot of challenges once you go from one geography to another geography. If you are moving, like if you are in Tamil Nadu and you want to start your business in Maharashtra or in Delhi, there's a language barriers, right? There are cultural barriers. So where we have our direct teams, they reach out to these investors and they connect to these people. And second and last thing is basically the franchisee selection. So selection criteria is very, very important, because if you are getting leads, doesn't mean he's the right partner for you. So the selection criteria for your franchisee is equally important, as important as your strategy itself. So to appoint your franchisee, Franchise India and Francop, they develop this evaluation criteria for your franchisee selection, where we look at the 4 fits for your franchisee. One is your strategic fit. Second one is your operational fit, financial fit, and marketing fit. So operational fit, we talk about the operational efficiency. So we look at the partner who has the experience, who can bring better efficiency, operating efficiency in the business. Strategic fit, we look for the partners who has the industry knowledge, industry capability, who has some past experience at the same time. So we evaluate those partners. Financial fit, yes, of course, we look at the financial bandwidth and capability of the franchisee, how much he can invest in your business, and does he has the enough capability to sustain initial gestation period. And the marketing fit, ultimately we also need the partner who can generate local demand for your business or your product. So we look for those kind of partners who are the creative minds and who has the business acumen person who can basically create the local demand. So with this, so what we have done for all of our services, we have created, basically packaged them into 4 different products. So all of our services that we provide, we have converted them into 4 standard products, right? So that's your frank start. This is all again depending on the scope of the work and your target to scale. So depending on your strength, capability, and your scope, we do these 4 products: your Frank Start, Frank Grow, Frank Excel, and Frank Max. So Frank Start for basically the small players who want to grow a limited number of franchisees they want to appoint and recruit. So that's Frank Start. Then we have a Frank Grow. It is a larger, slightly larger scale up, where we have more add-on services for the franchise. Scale up, then again, is my Friend Excel program is for 2 years. So franchisee, they have like larger vision to scale across the geographies or multiple regions. Friend Excel is the program for those players, and Frank Max is the program for large players. They want to scale nationally or internationally. So across the geographies, we have a 36 months program for them. And these all programs have its own associated costs and commercials. So for those, you can reach out to our team, Ram and Isa, and they will help you in terms of understanding the commercials on these products. Right. Yeah, so this is our capability. We talk about like India market. So Franchise India is 27-year-old organization, and Francop is 18 years old organization for consulting. We have serviced more than 20,000 brands in India and across the globe. We have a direct team of like more than 1,500 professionals. If in India, if you look at 90% of the franchise industry is developed by Franchise India, and we have a direct presence in 97 cities in India. We also have a registered database of more than 1 million investors, and international markets, we have the presence in 10 countries. So with this, I will end the presentation, and I will invite Deepak to share his concluding remarks.
Thank you, Ashok ji. And friends, I hope you got a better understanding on the franchise model. Is the franchise strategy a right strategy for you or not? We are more than happy to have a one-on-one call, because I understand your businesses are at different stage. You might be at an early stage, at a mature stage. And Ram and Isha, you can reach out to them if you want to have a detailed understanding, and we can then share some case studies and give you an understanding then how we can help you expand your business through franchising. We've done it for a lot of companies in a lot of space. I think it's a no obligation meeting. Just have a meeting with us, try and understand our perspective, and from there we can look forward. As Mr. Mare also said during his presentation, that sometimes businesses are not able to see the long term growth, and that's what as a consultants we advise you. Ashok ji has been doing this for last almost 10 years now, and has been advising a lot of companies, and he's been the man behind a lot of successful franchise companies in India, and also a lot of international brands who come in the Indian market. Ashok ji has been the main growth driver. He's been putting a lot of strategies for them. So friends, more than happy to have one-on-one call with you. Look forward. Thank you. And we'll come up with another webinar on next Wednesday. Thank you.
Yeah, so Deepak, before closing this session, I would say to the viewers and to the friends that if you are ready for takeoff, if your business is ready for takeoff, Franchise India and FrankOff is the right platform to connect with.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Ram. Thank you, Isha, for organizing this webinar. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, sir.